Now, I never thought that I would actually say this, but I think Tiffany Henyard is speechless, guys. Like, this woman can't catch a break these days. She's tried to get that emergency restraining order against Jedediah, and that failed. She's still not back on the ballot, guys, for Thornton Township. And trustees Carmen Carlisle and Chris Gonzalez is giving Tiffany the fever, walking out on her latest board meeting or not showing up at all on six or seven before that. And it's left her speechless. Now, Tiffany was forced to pay back all of the back rent to the owner of the home, the home that she shares with her lover boy. And one by one, all of her shenanigans are crumbling around her. So, what does all of this mean for Tiffany? I wonder how it feels for her to finally get a taste of her own medicine. Let's talk about it. And guys, thank you for tuning in to Southern Confidential. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We would love to have you as a part of the SC family. Now, what does all of this mean for Tiffany regarding her latest lawsuit to get herself back on the ballot? It's been pretty quiet, I think, on the home front. But here's the kicker. This last lawsuit that she filed against State Senator Napoleon Harris, claiming voter suppression and illegally being left off the ballot. Um, you know, Tiffany is running out of time, guys. And to be perfectly honest, who's paying for all of these lawsuits? Have you ever wondered who is paying for all of these lawsuits? I can answer that for you. It's the taxpayers, guys. Because, listen, if Tiffany had to pay for even one of these lawsuits out of her pocket, I can guarantee you there would be zero lawsuits. But they're coming from taxpayer dollars, and she is frivolously just filing lawsuits like there's no tomorrow. So if you count up the money or the funding that's required to pay for all of the lawsuits that she has frivolously filed or been sued because she's acting outside the scope of her job, it accounts for millions of dollars a year. And that's something else that needs to be addressed with the trustees, the taxpayers, i.e., the voters. That's something you guys have to consider. And just so you know, guys, Tiffany Henyard does still have supporters, people standing in the gap with her in the trenches, right? And even in the face of countless allegations of corruption, misuse of funds, abuse of power, the whole nine. It's like cheering for the captain of a sinking ship and convincing yourself the water's just a new kind of luxury feature. That's kind of how I see it, guys. So those taxpayers not supporting Tiffany Henyard have two major obstacles to overcome. Number one, will she get her name back on the ballot and win that legal battle in Thornton Township? And then number two, will she prevail against Jason House in this upcoming election for the Village of Dalton? Now, me personally, I can't imagine a world where Jason House doesn't prevail and win as mayor of Dalton, right? But that's just my opinion because sometimes stranger things have been known to happen. And these people, or some of them, anyways, can be a bit clueless as to the realities of what's really going on with Tiffany. It's like a mother and her daughter, she's looking right in the face of what her child is doing and she's turning a blind eye to it because, after all, that's my daughter. I trained her better, and certainly I know she can't be doing, all of this nefarious stuff. But people don't seem to get it. She does still have a cheerleading team behind her. Why? I don't know, but she does. So I'm hoping that Jason House prevails and they won't have to deal with Tiffany in Dalton, and they'll just have to overcome the obstacle of her not getting put back on the ballot for Thornton Township. But like I said, stranger things have happened in politics, and you never know. We'll just have to wait and see. Keep our fingers crossed that Jason House prevails. So here's my question, guys. Is Tiffany just a sore loser, or has she been illegally pushed out of the election for Thornton Township? Now, her lawsuit against Napoleon Harris paints herself as a victim of systematic bias and voter suppression. But with her extensive history of questionable behavior, can she really convince the court that she's been wrong? So, in order to win that case of being not allowed on the ballot, there are certain things that she has to prove and be successful at. So, in order for her to win her case, there's a few things that she must prove. Number one, she has to prove compliance. She has to demonstrate that she submitted all the required paperwork on time. Number two, she has to expose procedural irregularities. So, in other words, she has to provide concrete evidence of misconduct or bias by the election officials or party leaders. And then number three, in my opinion, she has to rebuild her credibility, even if she is allowed back on the ballot, which I don't think is going to happen. She would have to rebuild her credibility in order to overcome the damage, even the perception of who she is that she herself has created by her long list of controversies and bad behaviors. So here's the $1,000,000 question, guys. Will Tiffany Henyard's hot air keep her floating long enough to get back on the ballot and secure another term? Or will the disgruntled taxpayers rally to send her off in the balloon of her own making? The clock is ticking as this political saga heats up. Leave me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are, because Tiffany's story, in my opinion, is nothing short of a political roller coaster. From lawsuits to scandals, it's one headline after the other. Rather, she's the victim of political gamemanship or just a sore loser who can't accept accountability. One thing is for sure: taxpayers are bearing the brunt of her legal battles. So, as her case against Thornton Township and Napoleon Harris unfolds, we have to wonder, is Tiffany fighting for justice? Or is she just playing politics? Politricks, as she calls it. So, with Tiffany, there's always another twist around the corner. So, that's why I'm asking, what's your thoughts? Will Miss Tiffany Henyard pull another rabbit out of her hat in time enough to get back on the ballot for Thornton Township? And the second question is, guys, what percentage of people do you think are still standing with Tiffany in Thornton Township and the village of Dalton? Let me know what you think. And as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Southern Confidential, and I will see you next time.